and welcome back to my regular viewers, and of course a very warm welcome to those of you that are visiting for the first time. Today I'm going to be focusing on tips for running in the cold weather, and as we are currently in mid of a polar vortex here in Alberta, it seems quite an apt topic to talk about. Now this winter we've been lucky as things have been pretty mild for several weeks now, but with temperatures plummeting to highs of around -25°C this past couple of days, we're now at the stage where some of us would much rather stay under the duvet with a mug of hot chocolate rather than heading outdoors for our usual daily exercise. Of course, thanks to COVID, we can't go to the gyms or make use of the indoor tracks. So unless you're lucky enough to own your own treadmill, we either sit around waiting for things to warm up or else face up to old man winter and head outside to embrace the elements. So let's get to it as I go through how I personally keep on running outdoors during the polar vortex. So tip number 1, dress in layers. We all know that with the arrival of colder weather, there comes the increased risk of hypothermia, so it's important that we retain our core temperature. Wearing the wrong clothing could be disastrous, so there are a few things to consider in terms of what you wear, the first being to layer up for the conditions. For the temperatures that we're experiencing right now, I've been wearing 3 layers, which have kept me snug and warm whilst out running. Firstly, wear a base layer. Now this should be something that will keep you warm and will wick away sweat and moisture to keep your skin dry. I tend to wear this Cloud Veil merino wool base layer, which absorbs the moisture but still keeps me nice and warm, and this type of wool is smooth and non-itchy and extremely lightweight. But any technical shirt would be good, especially if temperatures aren't quite as extreme, and these are usually made from nylon or polyester. You really should avoid cotton as this absorbs the moisture and traps it against your skin, which will actually make you feel quite wet and literally chill you to the core during the winter months. Over the top of the base layer, I will wear a long-sleeved thermal top. Sometimes this will have a zipper which allows me to unzip the neckline later on in the run if I'm getting a little bit too warm, or it'll be a crew neck thermal running top. The one I have here is the Tough Athletics Thermolite sports top that I actually bought from Costco, but I also have others including this New Balance thermal top which has the raised collar to help to keep the neck warm too. This second layer will help to ensure that heat is retained and again make sure that you're kept nice and warm. Finally, for the third layer, I make sure I wear something that is windproof. The wind chill here in Canada during the winter can be deadly, and it can make things feel a good 10 to 20 degrees cooler, which can chill you to the core. My favourite is this Icebreaker GT merino wool windproof jacket, which is also breathable and lets out any excess moisture without letting out the heat. If you need an additional waterproof layer due to snowfall, I usually wear my Salomon running jacket over the top. Of course, wearing so many layers can make you feel heavy and unable to run smoothly, but it's a small price to pay if you're adamant that you want to run outside and want to stay warm, dry and of course safe. Tip number 2, keeping those buns warm. Now for me personally, my thighs really bear the brunt of the cold, and there have been occasions where my thighs and my butt have been chillier than they should be when out on a winter run. During the winter I do wear thermal running tights, and these ones here are the Mondetta thermal tights. But given the extreme conditions right now, I do add an additional pair over the top or underneath. Again, bear in mind that wind. If you can get a hold of windproof running pants, then please do so. I don't really have a favourite brand, but I do make sure that my winter tights have that fleecy lining and the wind protection around the quads if possible. Tip number 3, use your head. Okay, so we know that we lose heat through our heads, and it's pretty easy to see here how the cold weather could affect our heads if we're not wearing the correct headwear. And it isn't just your head. In temperatures below -30, you are at serious risk of frostbite on exposed skin within just a couple of minutes. Your nose, cheeks and ears are particularly at risk, so try to keep those covered if at all possible. For me, I wear a balaclava, a thermal balaclava, and then add a woolly hat over the top. I also use a thermal buff as an extra face covering. Things freeze and I sometimes end up with a frozen face covering, so it's good to be able to switch them around to keep things warm. Tip number 4, warm hands, warm heart. Just like your ears and nose, your fingers are at serious risk of frostbite. So make sure that you wear a good pair of gloves that are waterproof and wind resistant and also insulated. Some folks like to wear gloves with a pair of mittens over the top, but I personally like to be able to move my fingers, so I will wear a double layer to be on the safe side. Tip number 5, watch those toes. A couple of years ago, I actually did a 50-kilometre race during the winter months, and a poor choice of footwear resulted in me getting frostbite on my big toe. I learnt the hard way that day, and I now make sure that I wear good old merino wool socks on my feet with a secondary thermal pair over the top. I make sure that my winter shoes are able to fit my feet, plus the extra pair of socks, as you don't want to end up with blisters. Talking about shoes, my winter shoe of choice is a Salomon Spike Cross for ice and snowy conditions, or the Speed Cross if conditions aren't quite so bad underfoot. The former are Gore-Tex, which of course helps to keep the feet nice and dry. And if you'd like to find out my review about them, check out my video about the Salomon Spike Cross. If you do happen to find yourself running in deeper snow, you can of course add gaiters to your gear collection. I don't tend to wear gaiters very often, but I do have a couple of pairs from Salomon and Altra, and they are great for keeping that snow out of your shoes and helping to keep your feet extra dry. Right, so now you're ready to head out of that door and take on Old Man Winter, but there are a couple of other things that you may want to consider. Number 1, do you run with your phone? If, like me, you like to take photos on the run or have your phone with you for emergency purposes, bear in mind that the cold will drain the battery more quickly. If possible, try to keep it in a pocket close to your body to keep it warm. I store mine in a chest pocket in my jacket, or else in a side pocket in my running tights, which helps to prolong the battery life in these extreme temperatures. Number 2, bear in mind that cold can affect your breathing. I'm not going to lie, I find it tough running in colder weather, and it isn't just due to all the layering. I do tend to struggle with my breathing more when it's cold, even when covering my face to prevent the cold hitting my lungs. So I do slow down my pace and take things much easier. And I try not to do too much speed work when the temperatures really do get silly. Number 3, what about running in the deep stuff? Well, as we know, running in deep snow is extremely hard work, and I certainly find it more tiring due to having to lift my feet even higher. So to make things a little easier, you might want to consider shortening your stride, slowing down, and just enjoying a different kind of workout. Number 4, be sure to hydrate. Even though it may be stupid cold outside, you'll still sweat, so you do still need to hydrate. Liquids will of course freeze, so either wrap them in a sock or something again to keep close to your body. The alternative is to take warm water. I've even heard of people putting vodka in their water to prevent it freezing. It's not something that I've done, but I've heard that it certainly does work. Number 5, consider your route. When it is bitter cold outside, I try to stay close to home, and if possible I do loops around the local lake so that I can use the car as an aid station and leave hot drinks and extra dry clothes in there just in case I need them. It also means that you can drop layers there if you find that you're too warm, or if you're too cold and just not having fun, you can of course bail on your run and just go another day. Finally, number 6, unless you're heading straight home to end your run, make sure you have a change of warm, dry clothes in the car. As soon as you stop, the temperature will drop and the sweat starts to evaporate. So the sooner you can get into warmer clothes or a hot shower or bath, the better. So there you have it, just a few things to bear in mind from my own personal experience and things that I hope some of you will find useful. Of course, if you do have any other winter running tips that you'd like to share, please feel free to comment below and we can certainly add that in next time. This coming weekend I'm actually off to Calgary for the Frozen Ass 50k Ultra, and I also have a little mini mounting adventure planned whilst we're there. I will be giving an update on both of these, so look out for those over the coming days. I've also got a few other ideas up my sleeve that I'll be working on over the coming weeks, so stay tuned for those too. A big shout out to all of my subscribers for your continued support, and for those of you that are new today and would like to see more of this kind of thing, like this video, hit that subscribe button, and of course click on that bell so that you're notified when new stuff is posted. For now though, thanks everybody for watching, stay safe, stay warm, and I shall of course see you all next time.